Cool. Here with Gabe Goodwin from ESPN. Thanks so much for being here at the Westchester Digital Summit. Really appreciate it. We got a phenomenal response from the panel discussion. I think kind of mixing up such high-level executives from so many interesting brands is always going to create something really compelling. But I'd love to hear from you. I mean, it's
the fun thing about doing this is you get to talk a little bit about the specifics of the things you work on. We show up at work and know that there's a storyline that we're going to help drive, and we're going to, in some ways, I think, help start the conversation, and in other ways sort of see where it went and jump into it.
Oh, cool.
We have certainly, I think the word that everyone here uses is scale. I would just call it a big audience. A lot of people who expect to get good information and good points of view and cool content from us.
Right.
We're just sort of trying to attach our brand to any big sports event, whether it's on our air or anyone else's. We're a news organization, right? So it doesn't matter if the game is on CBS. That's what sports fans are talking about. So we as SportsCenter are going to be in the conversation. We're going to create original content around it. Yeah, we want people to engage with us and think about us for where to go after the game, but we're not trying to take anything away from anyone else. We just want to be part of that conversation.
How much of that comes from I mean, literally, you just running around and feeding off of the people on like a game day shoot, or eyes and ears open, or a guy like Colin Cowherd coming to you and being like, listen, somebody just tweeted this, let's pivot and go in this direction? I mean, is it happening that fast for you guys at this point?
Yeah, it is. Some guys are more connected to their phones and to social than others. Colin specifically is the kind of guy, like most Colin ideas start in Colin's head, and you're just there to help him sort of navigate
it's brilliant,
it.
though. I mean, it's fun to what those ideas are. You listen to him on the radio, and you're just like you get drawn in. And
the guy's one of the best there is.
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
So with Colin, it's like hey, let's make sure we're setting Colin up the right way, and if the audience response to it should maybe change the next segment, we'll feed him that. But for other people, they're totally locked into their phones. A lot of our talent are really, really listening to what's going on and watching conversation on Twitter to see what their angle might be the next day. And and I think that's changed in my time. I've been there almost 10 years. That was not the way that most people prepped for the following day's show.
Sure.
And now even our opinionists are really, really shaping their opinion based obviously on fact, obviously on experience, but also a little bit on where the fans seem to be with the topic. Yeah, and so, from the really serious stuff, and we've had a few of those stories lately, to just like the goofy thing, that Justin Bieber showed up at a game and he was shown in a cutaway, and people are making jokes and memes online. Is that something we're going to jump in on? Is that something that we can play with? It's every part of it.
How much more for the future of what you guys are doing is this even part of your agenda, or you just kind of like see what happens? Will it be driven by the fans live within the experience? I mean, are you guys going to be on air, reading tweets? And I know that happens, but it's still curated content, but maybe even like pivoting on the story based on a citizen journalist, that's just, tweeting a photo.
I think there's certainly a bit of that. And we're learning that there's value in it, and there's more tools to help you with that.
Sure.
I tend to think in most cases the news and the action will come from the people I think our fans care most about, which are the athletes and the newsmakers on the field and court. But absolutely, in aggregate form, the audience can tell you a lot. And if you have the right tools, we use a company called Mass Relevance a lot to help us curate and pull off the fire hose of Twitter.
Jesse Redness is going to be speaking later.
From
cool. Mass Relevance,
So we use Mass Relevance constantly. They have new tools that help you look at what they call real-time marketing. And it's a great content tool as well. So we're using that to say, hey, wait a second, our hunches weren't exactly in sync with what the audience is telling us here. It's just a data point. It doesn't make it. A guy who's been producing SportsCenter for 10 years who knows how to pick the stories is not going to suddenly go and tear up the rundown, but maybe he'll give an extra minute or two or a secondary treatment to a story that was popping on social that he didn't see when the night started.
Cool.
Yeah, and that's the way it's working for us now. So it's not that the fan is necessarily like submitting something. It's not UGC is not going to suddenly just change the show.
Right.
But we can learn that, wow, actually, this storyline, which didn't seem important to the game, really resonated even more than this highlight.
That's hugely compelling. So, and I think it's fascinating too that you're talking about, a seasoned producer isn't going to get swayed by that sort of digital sentiment.
Not blindly.
Yeah, right. They're not just going to follow it and be like, oh, well, it's social, so let's do it. That there's got to be a well thought out process and an acumen from years of experience as a producer to get to that.
I mean, I produce TV shows, and everyone does it their own way. You have data points.
Sure.
One of them now is social.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good way that the audience can tell you what they care about.
Yeah.
But you have to keep in mind, it's only a percentage of the audience, and it's a
Right.
percentage of the audience that are choosing to be most vocal.
Yeah.
And that tells you something, you know?
Right.
I mean, ratings and what engages in social don't always go one-to-one.
Sure.
You know? And some people, in fact, can't stand some of the things that rate best.
I was gonna say, and then you don't want to alienate that other part of the audience that's just like, I don't care what some kid in Boise tweeted about.
You got to be careful. You want your fans tweeting, and you want them to be a part of the show. You want to reward really clever, interesting content that they create. But yeah, you can't suddenly make the show. If I tuned in to watch Colin,
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily going to really want to get away from Colin for three guys I've never heard of. And,
Yeah. You want Colin. Yeah.
you just got to make sure you keep that in mind. So there's a balance.
Very, very cool stuff. Well, listen, man, we could talk for hours, but
Yeah.
I'll let you go on that one. Really a pleasure meeting you and having you here today. Greatly appreciate it, and look forward to hearing more from you, and maybe you can come back next year.
I would love to.
Good stuff.
Mamaroneck High
Thanks very
School was
much.
represented
Yeah, there
well
you
at
go.
the Westchester Digital
baby.
Summit.
Westchester, represent. That's good.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.